Good afternoon. My name is Mike Richard, and I am proud to once again serve as the chairman of the Executive Committee of the Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame. I'd like to welcome you today to this brand new Gardner Elementary School for the induction of the class of 2023 into the Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame. I'd also like to especially thank Principal Earl Martin for being a gracious host to us today in this beautiful new facility. Our Hall of Fame began back in 1992 as both the football and girls basketball Halls of Fame. However, in 2000, to help commemorate the new millennium, it was decided to merge and create one Hall of Fame to honor all sports, all athletes, coaches, and teams of Gardner High School's storied past. Today, we honor 10 athletes, 3,000-point scorers in basketball, the all-time ice hockey point leader, the all-time football yardage and touchdown maker, the all-time softball pitching leader in wins, strikeouts, and no-hitters, a pair of the best softball hitters of all time, 2 track and cross-country stars who are still among the all-time leading record holders. In addition, 2 coaches with combined 60 years of service and a pair of swimming dynasties that combined for an amazing 29 state championships. We have ourselves quite a lineup here today. This brings our current and impressive total of Gardner High School Hall of Fame honorees to 214. So now it's time to pay tribute to our guests of honor, and I'd like to introduce them one at a time. Gardner High Hockey's all-time leading scorer from the class of 1990, DJ Howard. A 1,000-point basketball scorer from the class of 1992, Dr. John Janus. Another 1,000-point basketball scorer from the class of 1999, Andy Ericson. One of Gardner High cross country and track's most decorated record holders from the class of 2001, John Carin. A 1,000-point scorer for the girls' basketball team from the class of 2005, Jackie Arsenal Budwick. An outstanding 3-sport athlete and winner of 11 varsity letters from the class of 2005, Stacy Lejoy. Gardner High's softball's all-time pitching leader in wins, no-hitters, and strikeouts from the class of 2008, Alyssa Boris Bartol. One of the greatest hitters in Gardner softball history, leader in single-game home runs, RBIs, and single-season batting average from the class of 2010, Nikki Boris. Another of Gardner High cross-country and track's most decorated record holders from the class of 2010, Stephanie Ellis Tyros. Gardner football's all-time leader in rushing yards, touchdowns, and points from the class of 2012, Jameson Kraft. A longtime coach of cross-country, indoor, and spring track, still at it since his debut in 1991, Ken Peler. The father of Gardner boys ice hockey, longtime JV softball coach and girls hockey coach, Coach John Santui. We are also honoring the swimming dynasty of Coach John Tinker, represented today by former swimmer and Gardner High Hall of Famer Ken Phillips. And finally, the swimming dynasty of Coach Don Lemieux, represented today by former swimmer and Gardner High Hall of Famer Stacy Lesneski Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, our class of the 2023 Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Now, you may all return with your families and take your seats. We'll be hearing from you a little bit later on. At this time, I would like to introduce Gardner High School 8th graders Leah Montez de Oca Carvajal, I apologize for the pronunciation, and Shayla Gray. Are they here? They are going to lead us today in our national anthem. Would you please stand?
Oh, say, can you sing by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you very much, ladies. Beautiful job. As probably a lot of you know, in past Hall of Fames, we've held it at Gardner High School. Just so happens that the weekend that we planned our Hall of Fame induction is the same weekend that they do the haunted house. And it was difficult for the two of us to share the same lower part of the school. So it did, however, give us an opportunity to showcase this beautiful new elementary school in Gardner, which all of Gardner is very proud of, and otherwise probably many of you never would have had a chance to see it. So we're happy that you're able to. Today we are honored to have present with us the Chief Executive Officer of the City of Gardner, who is the city's #1 fan when it comes to sports. To offer a welcome today on behalf of the City of Gardner, class of 2013 graduate, Mayor Michael Nicholson.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to our beautiful new elementary school building. If you haven't taken a chance to walk around the first floor, it really is quite a sight to see, even if you just look at the playground on the other side here. I want to say congratulations to all of our new inductees on behalf of everyone here in the city of Gardner. When I was looking at the list, these are familiar names to me. Some of you were my classmates, some of you are my coworkers, some of you were teachers, substitute teachers, mentors, coaches, people whose names that I was familiar with when I graduated from Gardner High School. And when I was trying to really narrow down what to say at something like this as the kid who never was a sports person but was the music person, I thought of the ending lines of Gardner High's alma mater. The years can never part us, for memories will remain that bind our hearts together till the day we meet again. And it's those memories and those connections that we celebrate here today, those things that may seem far ago, some before I was born, but they're still making an impact today and they're still worthy of recognition. And I can't say thank you enough to the volunteers on the committee who put this together for keeping this going. I can't say congratulations enough to our new inductees and to everyone who's in the room supporting those inductees for the work that you did to get them to their spots here today. And I want to also recognize that we do have two of our city councilors here with us in the room, George Tyros and Alec Durnalowitz, and thank our staff from Gardner Educational TV for recording this for people who can't be with us here today or for later viewing for, again, memories that will remain long after this is over. So congratulations on behalf of all of us here, and go Wildcats. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Nicholson, and on behalf of many of us here today, I'm sure, good luck soon. Unfortunately, our superintendent of schools, Mr. Mark Pellegrino, is attending an out-of-state conference and is unable to be with us today. In addition, our athletic director, Dan Fort, is leading the Gardner High School soccer team to victory, we hope, in an away game at Mendon. However, both gentlemen send their best wishes. We do have our Gardner High School principal, who, and I can personally vouch for this, was a pretty decent athlete in her own right. Way back in another lifetime for both of us, she was my center fielder and pitcher on the Quabbin JV softball team. She later played for the state finalists when she was a senior in high school at Quabbin as well. She's done a remarkable job at Gardner High School in her time here, and we're so happy to have her with us here today. Gardner High School Principal Paula Bolger.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today for this special event. As Mike mentioned, Superintendent Pellegrino, unfortunately, is away at a conference, flying back home today. Coach Fort, our athletic director, is away at Mendon against Sutton, a very strong soccer team, but I'm feeling good about this one, in the semifinals for the state tournament. Coach Fort did want me to give a brief statement on his behalf that I'm going to do. For him, he wants to thank both the Hall of Fame committee and all of the inductees today. Also, congratulations to the existing members of the Hall of Fame. As a school community, we are all honored to share this day. As coaches, we remind our athletes every day that they set an example for their peers and lay the foundation for the future student athletes who will wear the black and orange. The Hall of Fame represents proof of that message and highlights the impact that interscholastic athletics can have, not only from the playing surface, but also in the greater community. So that was on behalf of Dan Fort. I'll say a couple of brief things. From a personal perspective, as a former high school athlete, a very average athlete, as I was telling our students over there, and someone who just has a general love for athletics and has followed sports my whole life. I see every day the positive impact athletics has on our student athletes. That sense of family and the closeness of the students. The sense of community when families and community members come out to watch the student athletes compete. And the great job that our coaches do. Underscoring the importance of coaching. Just this week, I received an email from a Central Mass soccer official praising our girls' soccer coaches for being so positive with our girls and coaching them constructively throughout the game. And saying, part of his statement, quote, "Your girls' soccer staff should be commended thoroughly for being true soccer coaches." That matters. Our coaches are an integral part of our programming, and we cannot find success without coaches who not only understand what they are coaching, but truly care about the athletes. And let me tell you, coaching does matter. From an administrator's standpoint, if maybe some of our student athletes get into a little trouble once in a while, the first thing they say to us is, "Are you going to tell my coach?" Not, are you calling home to mom or dad? Are you going to tell my coach? Because that's what our coaches want them to emulate, the good behavior, and that matters, and they hear that. Gardner Athletics has been rebuilding for several years now and finding a lot of new success, very exciting. But that hasn't happened in a vacuum. We have the commitment from the city, the mayor's office, through the superintendent, school committee, to provide the funds to improve our infrastructure, thus the beautiful new Watkins Field, the gym renovations, the current work being done on all our athletic fields, dugouts, batting cages. I could go on and on. And with all this, we are very cognizant of the history of Gardner Athletics. And we try to be very thoughtful about bridging the old traditions with the new. That's very important. The truth is, our current athletes weren't even born when most of you played. Some of their parents weren't even born. It's community support and events like this that make that bridge possible. It's why it's important that we have current athletes here today, who are going to be introduced in a moment, to hear and listen to the Gardner athletes of old. Because it's those athletes and those prior programs that laid the foundation for where we are today. With all that being said, I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for all their hard work in putting this event together, and congratulate our current and new members of the Hall of Fame. So thank you very much. And now I am actually off to the haunted house.
Thank you, Ms. Bolger. At this time, I would like to introduce Gardner High cross-country and track standout, Krista Betez, for a few words on behalf of the student athletes at Gardner High School. Krista.
Good afternoon. My name is Krista Betez. On behalf of the student athletes of Gardner High School, I'd like to welcome you all to today's Athletic Hall of Fame induction. I would especially like to acknowledge our Hall of Fame inductees. You are the individuals who have set the standards that athletes today can look towards and aspire to. The records you have set, championships you have achieved, and your accomplishments both in school and in life give us the inspiration to do our very best each time we represent our school and our community. Athletes of today still put on the Wildcat jersey with pride, and each time we venture out to the playing field, track, course, pool, or ice, we do so as representatives of this great community and to the past Wildcat greats who have brought glory to Gardner during their playing days. I would now like to introduce the student athletes who are assisting this afternoon: Evan Cesare, Jack McCrillis, Kylie Polakowski, Jayla Prelo, Aiden Sparrow, Jocelyn Muir, and Ella Patel. Thank you and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Krista, and thank you to all of our Gardner athletes, student athletes that assisted with us here today. What a fall at Gardner High School so far this year. Krista probably didn't go into the detail of the fact that she, as well as her boys' cross-country teams, won the league championship today. Congratulations. In addition, the soccer team that is currently on the road to take into their game, also league champions this season. And last night, the undefeated football team put their cap on yet a league championship season as well. 4 league champs this fall at Gardner High School. As many of you know, we are a nonprofit group, not financially backed by the city or the school system. Therefore, your generosity is greatly appreciated. I saw many people today putting in some money as they came through the door. We're greatly appreciative of that. We'll also have the baskets at the after program gathering today at the PACC. Would ask you your continued generosity. We have a wonderful banquet for the for the most part there sandwiches, foods, and so forth. So please make sure you join us afterwards. We would not have that today were it not for two individuals who put a tremendous amount of time and work and effort into the banquet that we're going to have at the PACC. And at this time, I would like to acknowledge two members of our executive committee who put in the time, the effort, and basically took it off my shoulders, which I'm tremendously grateful. Lynn Cormier-Sayarath and Carin McCrillis. Please stand up, you in the audience. Thank you. They did a fabulous job, and I hope you join us at the PACC afterwards. Also at this time, I would like to acknowledge our past Hall of Fame members that are here in our audience. I'd like to acknowledge them, ask that they stand and remain standing until all are introduced, and please hold your applause to the end. First of all, our Hall of Famers that are also part of the executive committee, and I just mentioned Lynn Cormier-Sayarath and Carin McCrillis. In addition, Jim Hebert, please stand. John Audicki, Derek Beauregard, Steve Hancock, Steve Hirons, Howie Clash, Ed Kozlowski, Sally Johnson, Bob Wojciechowicz. Also another member of our executive committee, Garrett Shatrowski. In addition, we are so pleased today to have these Hall of Famers with us. One of the captains of the state championship football team back in 1950, Chet Beauregard. Center with the undefeated 1958 Wildcats, Norman Beauregard. Outstanding three-sport athlete, and in particular, a great catcher from the class of 1971, Wayne Hancock. Outstanding defensive performer for the undefeated Gardner High basketball team in 1982, Terry Konozak. An outstanding swimmer from the many Don Lemieux the stable of swimmers, the class of 2000, Kristen Landry. I saw this guy sneak in. I didn't think we were going to catch him, but I got him. At one time a foe every Thanksgiving, but always a friend and a Wildcat at heart. From the class of 1970, Dave LaRoche. Basketball player from 1977, Pam LeBlanc. A swimmer from the class of 1999, Christy Martin. From the class of 1965, a recent Hall of Famer, Tom LeBlanc. A swimmer from the class of 1968, Ken Phillips. One of the all-time great track men at Gardner High School from the class of 1995, Jan Stevens. From the class of 1963, a football standout, David Swerteski. All of our Hall of Famers in addition today, please, a nice round of applause. Thank you for returning to us. And if one of you got in here and I didn't get a chance to see you, I apologize, but we tried to hit you. But it's so great to have our former Hall of Famers join us. At this time, I'd also like to remember our departed Hall of Famers. Since our last induction in 2017, we've lost a number of past Hall of Famers. They are Joe Bishop, Henry Chahonsky, Barbara Davidowitz-Levitt, Bob Dill, Rainey Doran, Norman Ericson, David the Hawk Fisher, Dr. Paul Harrisamowitz, Leo Heglin, Bernie LaFortune, Don Lemieux, Bob Menney, Sally Stavely Ledger, Roger Wickman, Bob Weeks, Ed Wojciak, and Dave Wolanski. Also, three other individuals who are all Gardner High graduates and key contributors to the local sports scene. The Reverend Alston Chase, who delivered many invocations at past Hall of Fame ceremonies. Former Gardner High School swim coach, Georgia Ericson, Owen. And former Gardner High football coach, Mike Sunderland. At this time, when we please pause for a moment of silence to remember them, as well as all of our departed Hall of Famers. Thank you very much. As many of you know, this year we are marking the 100th anniversary of Gardner becoming a city, after first being incorporated as a town in 1785. However, there's also another significant anniversary which took part exactly 100 years ago this week. In late October of 1923, a menacing animal terrorized citizens of Gardner in the Gardner-Templeton area for several weeks and had dominated conversation both far and wide. It was feared to be anything from a wolf to a bear. However, one morning before dawn, the foreboding animal was brought down by one shot by a sharpshooting hunter. As it turned out, the hunter was none other than Gardner High School three-sport coach Donald G. Bennett, and the animal he brought down was a wildcat. Prior to this, newspaper coverages of the Gardner High athletic teams referred to them as simply Gardner or the locals. However, the sports editor began calling the Gardner teams the Wildcats, and 100 years later, the nickname lives on. So would you please welcome, celebrating his 100th birthday this weekend, our Gardner High Wildcat. Thank you, Wildcat. I hope I look as good as you when I turn 100, that's for sure. And now, without further ado, it's time to introduce our first Hall of Famer and his presenter. From the class of 1990, DJ Howard and his presenter, Randy Como.
Thank you, and what an honor it was to be chosen by DJ to do this. So November 30th, 1986 was the beginning of a wonderful high school hockey career for DJ Howard. As a freshman, there were many tall hurdles for him to overcome. The 1986-87 high school hockey team was loaded with upperclassmen. There were 11 seniors and another 7 juniors. They were all competing for ice time. DJ made an immediate impact, and through hard work and determination, that lone freshman was able to work his way onto the ice and contribute immediately. As a freshman, he had a successful season, getting his share of goals and assists. The successful season was the first time that DJ decided that a mohawk might look good on him. Thanks to his grandfather, Red, of course, that started a long-standing winning tradition. From November 1986 through February 1991, the Gardner hockey team went on to 4 district hockey finals, winning 3 of them and 2 state championship games. As a 4-year start for the Wildcat, DJ became the all-time points leader in Gardner High hockey history with 85 goals, 109 assists for an amazing 194 points over just 4 years. I know Dan and Janet are looking down on this as proud parents of the first high school hockey player selected into the Gardner High Athletic Hall of Fame. My teammate for over 35 years, my friend, number 14, DJ Howard.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the committee for selecting me to be a member of this 2003 class. And congratulations to everybody else who's been tonight, too. And thank you, Randy, for not embarrassing me. First, I need to thank my parents who are no longer with us, who gave me the opportunity to play this great game of hockey. They sacrificed more than I could ever know so I could play the game that I loved. I also know this journey wasn't easy for my sister, Michelle. As a family, we spend many weekends packing up on either a Thursday or a Friday night and come home late Sundays. I want to thank her for supporting me from my youth hockey days through junior hockey and all through high school. Thank you. My first memory of wanting to play hockey was when I would watch the Bruins with my father. I was about 6 or 7 years old and would watch him yell at the TV. So the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, because now that's me saying, "Shoot the damn puck." The language is a little more colorful than that. Just ask the family, they'll let you know. But the real journey began after that game in 1980, the Miracle on Ice. Now, I've played all kinds of sports growing up, from football to baseball to golf, but nothing came close to the fun I had playing hockey. Started with youth hockey games at the rink, and given the opportunity to travel all over New England until I made that high school hockey team. And today, I'm still thankful to be playing hockey. Some of the best times of my life was when I played high school hockey. There was no better feeling than putting on that Wildcat jersey and stepping out of the ice in front of a packed Gardner rink. Every now and then, you can look up and see those banners and still hear those colorful chants from our student body. Or if they said those today, they'd probably get suspended. Throughout my hockey years, I played with and against a lot of great hockey players over the 30-plus years of playing the sport. I made more friends from hockey than any other time in my life, from the guys that went to Murdoch, the St. Bernards, and yes, even Oakmont. But there'll always be a special place in my heart for all the great teammates I had here at Gardner High. Finally, I want to thank my wonderful and beautiful wife, Melissa. She's been my biggest supporter, not just in hockey, but in everything I've done in life, since high school. So thank you for putting up with me in 23 years of marriage. Thank you.
Our next inductee from the class of 1992 is John Janus, presented by his brother, Mike Janus.
Good afternoon. For those who don't know me, well, Mr. Richard said it, I'm Mike Janus. I'm John's brother. Just pleased to be able to introduce John into the Gardner High School Hall of Fame. When I think about John, I think about his competitive spirit. I think back to the days of us being kids in the backyard, playing one-on-one tackle football, him beating me every single time, 100-0. Also, I think about the countless hours that John would be outside, playing basketball in the driveway, every day, rain or shine, just trying to get better. John was dedicated and really enjoyed playing Gardner High School sports, being a multi-year captain and all-star. He was also known for putting hard work day in and day out. He was also known for being a great teammate and being on one state finalist team and also 2 district finals teams. Growing up with John as my brother made me a better person. The desire to win and be the absolute best was something I looked up to then, and I still continue today. This spirit has also transferred with his 2 sons, Caleb and Noah. So with that, I'd like to introduce John Janus.
All right, thanks, Mike, and thanks, Mike. And thank you to the principal for making me feel old. Half the people weren't born. So around the age of 40, I started probably hitting a midlife crisis, and you start reflecting back on, how did I get here? Because a lot of times you think it's like what you do and what you achieve and how hard you work. And what you realize, though, is you stand on the shoulders of giants. You have a lot of people that were there for you. And being in a small town, playing small town sports, really started to resonate with me. And I thought of a quote by John Wooden, the UCLA great: "A good coach can change a game. A great coach can change a life." So I'm happy I get to be up here today and publicly thank the folks who really helped change my life. Thank you to Jim Dufort, my Little League coach, really inspired a love for baseball. Ronnie Lejoy, who was my junior high basketball coach. Joe Bishop, not a coach, but my junior high principal, who really influenced me about the value of being not just an athlete, but a student athlete. Steve Hancock, who gave me a shot to play some varsity baseball as a freshman and really inspired me to the point where I didn't know if I was going to play basketball or try to pursue baseball in college. Also had the best basketball camp, the Mount Wachusett basketball camp, where I was able to hone some skills. Bob Hawk, Pete Slattery, baseball coaches sophomore through senior year, and then Walt Dobzinski. Now, I only played 1 year of football. I hated getting tackled. It was just terrible. But I remember, sweating in pain and him saying, you guys, we can't let you get fat, dumb, and happy. So flash forward. I played 1 year of football, and this is imprinted in my brain. It's the beginning of the summer, and my son's a varsity wrestler. He's a senior. My younger boy's an 8th grader. He's a basketball player. And I sat them down and said, we're going into the summer. We're not going to sit around. We're not letting you guys get fat, dumb, and happy. I was like, oh, my God. That's Walt Dobzinski talking. All right, so I have 2 pieces of Wildcat sports memorabilia hanging in my home office. The first is a plaque I received after my senior year of basketball. It's got all the stats and all that. But the bottom is the thing I read that says defense and hard work. It's Gardner basketball, defense and hard work. I've thought a lot about those words. As I get older and become more philosophical, they have a lot of meaning. Because, defense and hard work isn't flashy. It's not the 3-pointers. It's not the dunks. You miss shots. You have bad games, but you can always put effort in. That's what you control. It's the hustle, the tenacity. It's diving on the floor, the bumps, the bruises, the scrapes. And once again, it's all about effort, and that's something we all can do. And thanks to my high school coach, Bob Wojciechowicz, he drilled those principles into me. At the time, I could never understand, why is this guy kicking us out of practice? Why do we have to run 20 suicides? Why is he yelling at me? But what he did is he pushed me beyond my limits and made me mentally and physically tougher. And as I went into college sports and then into medicine, where I did residency and I work in the ER, which is not exactly a stress-free environment, it always kind of hit me that I had been trained from an early age through Gardner sports for those experiences. And it really, the coaching that I received in high school in that gym has helped me in every aspect of my life, personally and professionally. The second thing I have hanging on my wall is a photo from the Gardner News of me scoring my 1,000th point. I'm pointing in the crowd, and I'm pointing at my mom. It's great. I have my team around me, but I took a moment to point to her. Inevitably, my dad was off on the side with the GHS camcorder recording me, but I specifically remember that. And I have 2 sons, as mentioned, and it's when they started playing sports really kind of hit me. And I couldn't really fully appreciate what it takes and what sacrifices parents and communities make for high school sports and youth sports in general. The countless hours rebounding in the driveway, rides to practices, expensive summer sports camps, the fact they never missed a game. Mom getting me fired up to play by stuffing motivational quotes in my gym bag. I still have a ton of them that I've kept. Dad, as mentioned, always shooting that game film and then reviewing it and breaking it down and trying to push me to get better. Sometimes I didn't always like that. But I'm so thankful and fortunate to have supportive parents who push me in my athletic endeavors. So one final thought. I've thanked everyone for what they provided me during my years in Gardner. But now I'd like to thank all of you coaches, all the fans, all the people that were on the teams for how you've influenced my sons. I've taught them the same exact lessons you taught me growing up. And even though it's over 30 years later, we live 3 hours away in Albany, and their school colors are different, unfortunately like in Oakmont green, by the way. They play their sports with a Gardner Wildcat defense and hard work mentality and mindset. So thank you for this honor, and congratulations to the other inductees.
Our next inductee from the class of 1999, Andy Ericson, will join his grandfather, Norman Ericson, in our Hall of Fame. Andy is being presented by his high school basketball coach and Gardner High Hall of Famer, Bob Wojciechowicz.
Cutting into my nap time, Mike. But last year I went to one of Coach Gamash's basketball games, and I saw something that I had never seen before. I had gone to watch the team play, but I went particularly to see Andrew's son play. During the game, I was sitting about eye level with the rim, and Elliott is his name. He made a steal at half court and dribbled in, and two guys were cutting him off. So he could have got hit, but it didn't bother him. He went up with two hands and jammed the ball. Now, it doesn't seem too out of the ordinary, except the fact that he's 13 years old and in the 8th grade. And this is a varsity basketball player. Now, you probably wonder, why are you talking about Elliott when you're supposed to be talking about Andrew? Well, first of all, I don't remember any of this stuff. Okay? And John, I don't remember your 1,000 baskets either. Okay? All I knew is we got the ball to people that were capable of taking care of it and put it in the hole. And that was my prime job. So even though these numbers really don't matter to me, and they're phenomenal when you read them. I don't want to repeat what's on the brochure. Okay, so what I'm getting to is 30 years ago, I had a 13-year-old 8th grader named Andy Ericson at the Gardner Junior High School down on Waterford Street. We had just finished intramural volleyball, and he had to show me how he could dunk a volleyball in the 8th grade. So he could. He got over the rim, and of course I had to challenge him. I couldn't have him walk away without being challenged, because that's the type of person he is. You just have to mention something and he'll go at it. So I said, "Can you do it left-handed?" No. "Can you do it with two hands?" No. I said, well, I proceeded to my office and I just looked back and says, "Well, when you can do it with a basketball, let me know." So right then and there, I knew I was getting something special. If you could get off the ground and you could be an athlete and love to play the way he did, I knew he was going to be part of my life for 4 years, which he was. I only had two players that could handle me for 4 years, or I picked up as a freshman to play and contribute to the varsity. You just don't pick those kids up. They've got to play. And there are only two, and one of them was the incomparable Mike Edwards, and the other one is Andrew Ericson, the latest inductee into the Gardner High School Hall of Fame.
All right, thank you, Coach Woj, for the great introduction and the kind words. Wasn't sure how you were going to handle that, so luckily I get to talk about you in a little bit as well, so I'll come back to that. I first off want to thank the committee, the Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame Committee, for this inducting me into the Hall of Fame. All the hard work that goes into putting something like this together. I know it takes a lot of time and energy connecting with people from that are all over the place, so really appreciate that. I also want to congratulate the other inductees. It's an honor to be alongside you guys on the wall there, as well as my grandfather, Norman Ericson. That's pretty cool. When Derek Beauregard called me to tell me that I was nominated, it really caused me to reflect back on my basketball life. And man, what a life it was. Just, it went back to the days in my driveway with my brother and friends, cross between basketball and football. That was part of the developing of toughness. It brought me back to the days with when friend's parent kind of challenged me and said, "Hey, you should join the travel basketball team around 4th grade." Some of those names I'd like to recognize because it had an impact of dads around me at that time that went out of their way to encourage us to do something outside of the home. That would be, some are here, some have passed, some aren't here. Those being Mr. Jeffroy, Mr. Gillis, Mr. Hancock, Mr. Carin, Mr. Durnallowance, and Mr. Flynn. I might be missing a few others. It all came full circle when Mr. Flynn was refereeing some of my college games. He taught me in 4th grade how to shoot free throws, and then in college he was helping me get to the foul line as maybe with some favorable calls. Let's see. And then it was nice, as I remember being a nervous freshman getting on the court and seeing that familiar face that went back to here over in Gardner. Seeing him as a ref, he was there to help me along the way in the game, and it just brought a little calmness to me, especially when maybe I wasn't doing the right thing and he gave me a few hints instead of calling the foul. He might have said, "Hey, Ericson, get your hands off of him. Ericson, get out of the paint," type of thing, so I didn't get called for 3 seconds. He was looking out for me. That's what sports can do for a student athlete. It can create a bond between a group of people from different backgrounds that have similar interests, and they look out for each other. It creates long-lasting friendships. It creates an instant group of friends, whether that's in elementary school, through high school, college, or beyond. I mean, I'm still trying to get up and down the court with a group of old guys playing with the young guys, but probably should start thinking about hanging them up pretty soon so I don't ruin my reputation here. Now back to Coach Woj. Thank you for giving me the guidance back there in junior high. Some of that was basketball guidance. That was challenging me to dunk better than what I could at the time. It was also trying to get me to stop playing ice hockey at the time so I wouldn't get injured. So I appreciate that. I'm still trying to figure out if I should thank you for a certain drill that maybe John can remember, the rollout drill, I'll call it, where he lined myself up on the baseline on one block and he lined up someone across from me, and now he's rolling out the ball, and I look across from me and I have a guy like Jacques Césaire or Kevin Branch, who, if you don't know who those guys are, they both could bench press twice my weight. One of them went on to play 9 years in the NFL as a lineman. So me weighing maybe 195 pounds soaking wet against Jacques, and he rolls out the ball, and by the time it was near the foul line, basically it's a free-for-all, dive at the ball, try to get the ball, no fouls called, mind you, and take the ball and go the other way. This was my only real experience with football, and needless to say, I didn't play football. What it did do, though, so I guess I can, in the end, thank you, what it did do was create a toughness in me that I was able to carry into the college years and got a reputation as being a basketball warrior. So those drills and all those times reflecting back, John, like where you can now in hindsight say, oh, okay, you're going through all this, what's the connection? And then all of a sudden you're battling it out. And,
It was fun.
yes, maybe not fun in the time, but I can see how it was beneficial. So thank you. I really appreciate it, Bob. Now that I've been married almost 19 years, I understand what it takes behind the scenes to be able to be a great coach. It takes a great wife. So I want to thank Carla, his wife. Thank you for being his support system. I'm sure she got to hear all the good things on the wins and all the bad things on the losses, or the behavioral issues, whatever it may be. She was also ahead of her time, and I'm trying to, so I remember her coming in, and it was a day where we were asked to take our shoes off and get ready for a little ballet. She was there to help us get lighter on our feet or become, she was way ahead of her time, and I'm just thankful there was no video back then like we have nowadays, or the social media that they could post it. That would have been really bad. But I thank her for that. She also was able to welcome us into her home when he would have a film session to yell at us for things that we were doing.
Just spoke loudly.
That's right. And you know, the locker, I mean, after a practice, going to a house, the good old locker room smells that she was able to endure. So Carla, really thank you for all your support for her. So yeah, wow, so many people, so many great memories, none of which would have been possible without the final people I need to give a special thanks to, which are my parents, Kurt and Carol, who are over here. I'm very blessed to have them in my corner. I now know firsthand, having 2 kids myself, what's involved to provide your kids all the opportunities that they were able to provide for me in both sports and in life. It involves a lot of time. It involves a lot of money, emotions, and patience. They were there for me in the good times and, more importantly, in the tough times. They helped give me a perspective that was based on a faith, which still holds true to this day. So thank you. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. Appreciate it.
Our next inductee from the class of 2001 is John Carin, presented by his high school coach, Ken Peler.
I'm not as tall as everybody else. So. I remember John being one of those rare student athletes capable of balancing multiple activities that would probably put most of us in the hospital. If you talk to him today, he has the same energy that he had many years ago. When I was coaching John, my biggest challenge with him was getting him to rest between training runs and races. John was a very active high school student, involved in everything going on in school. He was a 4-year member of the cross country and indoor and outdoor track. He was the drum major of the band. He was involved in many clubs, and he was an outstanding student athlete, ranked 3rd in his class. John's enthusiasm was contagious, beginning with his cross country team his freshman year, which only won three meets, up to his senior year, leading his team to an undefeated 10-0 season. That contagious enthusiasm that John brought to the team carried over from 2000 to 2007, where the boys cross-country team compiled a record of 73 wins to just 6 losses. And in individual dual meets, John had won 23 out of the 39 races he ran in. John was the indoor track league champion in the mile and 2-mile, as well as the indoor track Class C state meet champion in the mile. During the outdoor track season, John was the 2-mile league and district champion. He finished 5th in the state meet while in the mile and was 2nd in the mile at the New England Championship meet. In 1998, John led his indoor track team to a league championship, and in 2001, he led his outdoor track team to a district championship. John was a many-time all-star athlete. He set 5 school records during the indoor and outdoor track season that included the mile, the 800 meters, and his 4x800 relay team that set 2 school records both in indoor and outdoor track. John was also named Athlete of the Year. After high school, John went to UMass Amherst and earned his BA in Communications and later earned his Master's of Education from Harvard. While in college, John was captain of his indoor and outdoor track teams, while at the same time led the UMass Minuteman Marching Band as their drum major. He was the New England Indoor mile champion in 2005, and he also set a UMass school record in the mile, running 4:05, a record that stood for 25 years at the time. After college, John continued his running, competing in the Boston Marathon, where he finished 113th out of some crazy 1,000, while also raising $65,000 for the Massachusetts Brain Injury Association in dedication to his mother, and later ran the New York Marathon, finishing an incredible 49th place out of, 50,000 people. In 2009, he rode his bike 3,500 miles from Boston to San Francisco while raising $18,000 for Children's Hunger Fund. He's also traveled to all 50 states in the United States, and he's been to 6 continents and 22 countries. Today, John is the Assistant Dean of Admissions and Enrollment Services at Boston University. He's married to Beth Harlow, who also ran on his college track team, and they have 2 children. You can be sure there's a lot of running around going in John's household today. I'm sure I missed a number of his accomplishments, but Mr. Richards said I only have 3 minutes. So, no further ado, I'd like to present John Carin.
Well, I've been given only a runner's mile of time, so I will go quick. To Coach Pelletier and all involved in putting together this incredible event, I appreciate all you've done and for including me. I'm here because of the influence of so many people. At the top of this list was my mom, who was my biggest fan, cheerleader, and supporter. And I was, as mentioned, a stubborn kid who wanted to do a little bit of everything, from drum majoring the band, leadership positions, and captaining track and cross country, which made for some really tough scheduling. But my mom drove me from band competitions and football games to meets around the state, and she supported me literally above all else, making the often impossible possible. And no one deserves more credit than she on my being here and who I am today. To my dad, a thank you for instilling in me the value of hard work. Between practices, meets, and ongoing training, I managed to mow lawns and cut shrubs with Dad. To this day, he was by far the toughest boss I ever had, but being tough made me tough, and I am grateful for that. I'm especially honored that KP was part of my nomination, offered to introduce me, and most importantly, is appropriately being inducted himself today. This man chartered my running and life career, honestly, on the path that led me to this day. You'll hear more about him later, but let me say that he's a legend and an institution to this sport, this school, and this community. It all truly began with my very first coach, who I'm grateful is here as well, Alan Gogan, who planted the very first seed of running for me at Gardner Junior High. Alongside KP at Gardner High was Coach Rip Charters, whose football grit and penchant for fun and humor, which helped sustain my dedication to the sport for 4 years. And following Gardner High, my collegiate running successes were made possible by the legendary Coach Ken O'Brien, who inspired athletes for 50 years as head coach at UMass. Now, believe it or not, running coaches don't just say, run faster. They actually integrate science, psychology, and motivation. And all of these men knew that formula, and I owe them all a lifetime of gratitude. Despite the individualized nature of our sport, individual accomplishments are not possible without a team. If you had put me on a track in my prime by myself, I wouldn't and couldn't have run a 4:04 mile. It required hundreds of hours of training alongside teammates who pushed and challenged me, and the intangible benefits of a competition within a race. I owe gratitude to all of my teammates, and today to RV Tenney, a lifelong friend who co-nominated me for this prestigious honor. Running has been a core characteristic of my life for more than 2 decades. It has shaped my life's experiences in a million ways. It helped me to go to UMass and thereafter to Harvard as a graduate assistant coach. It has provided me cherished memories through hundreds of races. It has allowed me to see some of the greatest and most storied parts of the country and the world. And trust me, there is no better way to sightsee than by running, whether it's along the trails of Sedona, across the Australian outback, or through the streets of Rome. Running has also been for me an agent of change and influence. Through running and the complementary sport of biking, I've had the great opportunity and privilege of raising over $100,000 for charitable organizations and the care of my mom during the last years of her life. Most of my closest friends have come from this sport, spanning generations of teammates. The day after I broke the UMass school record, I got a call on my then flip phone, and the caller said, "Is this the fastest miler in UMass history?" I said, "Yeah, who's this?" He said, "This is the second fastest miler in UMass history." And I said, "Paul Bolio?" Who I had never met, but he had set the record 25 years before I broke it, and that phone call sparked a friendship that is still alive today. I am so grateful for the unique fraternity that only sports can create. But above all else, running led me to meet my wife, Beth. Running was the foundation of our lives crossing paths at UMass and continues to be a fabric of our lives and our lifestyle today. My mom, as said, was my biggest fan, cheerleader, and supporter during her life. But my wife has taken the relay baton, to use a track analogy, as the very best fan, cheerleader, and supporter that I could ask for in my adult life. And speaking of my adult life support crew, let me also thank my second and surrogate set of parents in my in-laws, Rob and Kathy, and their daily and unconditional love and support. Life is made up for all of us of our past, our present, and our future. As Whitney once told us, the children are our future. So in closing, to my moderately behaved children, Chase and Liv, I hope to instill the same qualities and characteristics that I've learned from those who came before me, and promise to be your greatest fan, cheerleader, and supporter as you both go through life. I won't pain you by singing Glory to Gardner, but as a true drum major, let me close this Gardner High Hall of Fame speech by saying, go, go Wild, go Wildcats. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee into the Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame will join her uncles, Bob Farmer Langlois and Pierre Langlois. She's being presented by her high school basketball coach and Hall of Famer, Jim Hebert. Our next inductee from the class of 2005, Jackie Arsenault Budwick.
Couple of quick observations. This new school has no railings. And I used to think John Janus was tall, but he stood next to Andy Ericson. John, it's not just a hairstyle. I had a big long speech. I wrote it down, had it on the table, and threw it in the recycling. If anybody wants a Hannaford flyer, I've got that on the table right now. Well, here this evening, the theme, I think, is honor the past, celebrate today as the present, and look forward to the future for the next generation. This young lady to my left epitomized a great athlete, 1,000-point scorer. That's why they put a banner up there for those people. It's hard to attain, and we have several here tonight. That's quite an accomplishment. I watched this young lady develop from girl and rec league and on through travel league and on to when she became a player in high school and also worked as a coach, because I wouldn't let any parents coach rec league basketball. They could keep score or referee if they like. The coaches came from the girls. And she was a great leader of young girls there. I have one recollection of many, many recollections, but one in particular. And since I don't want to talk way too long, it's in my mind, her 1,000 point. As the ball left her hand to go through, it was youth night, which when we bring in all kinds of rec league players and travel league players, and they were all there, and they had signs for Jackie, happy Jackie Dewey 1,000 point coach, and they were excited to be at the game. As the ball left her hand and went through the basket, my eyesight was into the stands to this young girl who rose when Jackie made the shot. That girl would become the next 1,000 point scorer in Gardner High School, Denise Della Justina. This is why we are here tonight. Not only the past, not only the present, but the future of Gardner High School, Gardner as a community, and our country. And without further ado, Jackie Budwick Arsenal.
Thank you, Coach. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here today. Congratulations to the inductees, and a big thank you to Mike Richard and the Hall of Fame Committee for a continued program of success. Thank you, and I'll see everyone tonight.
Our next inductee, also from the class of 2005, also an outstanding three-sport athlete, also being presented by Jim Abear, from the class of 2005, Stacy Lejoy.
Backed by popular demand, what's the secret to successful coaching? Great basketball players, okay? And you saw one before and another one now, and a great three-sport athlete in a time when there isn't as many three-sport athletes as there used to be. Again, I'll go back with the same theme of the past, the present, and the future. My first recollection of her was a little redhead that came to rec league. She was talented, but there was always a few tears, okay, as she went back to leaving like many of the kids did when they first came there, and many parents I counseled by saying, they'll like it, just keep bringing them back. Well, she kept coming back, and she kept getting better. And not only in just basketball, but every other endeavor, an unbelievable softball player and many other sports and endeavors that she had. I can remember her as being very stoic until she got into high school. Then you couldn't shut her up. And everything she talked about was like with a giggle. And I can remember going into the huddle, and I can't remember what I was saying. Probably I couldn't say it here tonight anyways because it's off color. And she would be with Brittany Halfrey grabbing her. What did he say? What did he say? What did he say? What did he do? Okay. That person grew into a fabulous athlete, not only at Gardner High School, went on to college, played 2 college sports, okay, which is unheard of today. Now this young redhead that came in with a few tears in her eyes and grew up in front of me is now a teacher imparting her wisdom and her knowledge to the next generation of young people. She is a credit to Gardner High School, She is a credit to the community of Gardner, and she is a credit to her family and herself. Stacy Lejoy.
I'd like to start off by congratulating all of the inductees and members of the Gardner High School Hall of Fame that are here today on this humbling achievement. I also want to thank Coach Hebert for his amazing introduction and for being such a supportive coach to both myself and so many others. Also, a huge thank you to Mike Richard and all the members of the Hall of Fame committee for their dedication and hard work on continuously supporting this program and the Gardner High School athletic teams. I am so very thankful to be here today with teammates, coaches, family, and friends. When coming up with the right words to share for this moment, I had to really reflect on how sports helped to shape me and influence my life back when I was in high school. As silly as it may sound, for me, sports was truly a way of life. Sports gave me the safe place to grow and excel to become the person that I am today, making this award so truly special. I was always looking for a sense of belonging and community and friendship, and being a part of athletic teams at GHS was just that for me. It gave me the confidence I needed in myself that I was able to then pass on and share with my teammates. I was given the opportunity by the Gardner High School athletic programs to be good at something and feel good about what I was doing, and for that I will always be grateful. When stating sports gave me a safe place to grow and learn, I have to clarify that it wasn't the winning and losing that helped shape me, although winning those championships in basketball and softball did feel like winning a gold medal in the Olympics at the time. But it was rather the relationships I built and the lessons I learned along the way, like understanding others' perspectives, to have grit when things just don't go my way, and to speak through actions when I couldn't come up with the words. I learned all these things, all of these important life lessons through my experience with high school sports, although I didn't even realize it at the time. This brings me to my next point. My years spent playing high school sports were some of my favorite years because of the people I met and how supported I felt by family, teammates, and coaches along the way. I can say that running figure eights up and down those stairs in the GHS gym, or running laps around the field, really taught me much, but I can say that doing it with those people next to me was what was so important. To be honest, there are a few games I can't actually remember, yet what I do remember are the positive feelings I had and the support I felt being there at those games with family, teammates, and coaches surrounding me. There is a quote that states something to the effect of, "You won't always remember what people say, but you'll remember how they made you feel," and to me, that really hits home. For example, Coach Hebert gave some pretty amazing pregame speeches. However, I unfortunately could not tell you exactly what he said, or how passionately red his face became, or how far he threw the clipboard, which was one of his favorite classic go-to moves. But I can tell you it made my teammates and I feel confident and empowered. During softball season, I do remember that sneaky bunt and steal signal that Coach Clash loved to use, which, by the way, wasn't always as sneaky as he thought. I couldn't tell you the results of the game. Rather, it's the leadership tone that he set for me, which gave me the support I needed to be a great teammate and leader to others. This leads me to my teammates. I know that to this day, each and every one of us would still be there for one another. Back in high school, we came up with this saying, "Together forever." And as corny as it sounds, I know we will continue to support each other forever. To close out, I would like to thank everyone for coming here and celebrating with us today, especially my parents, my grandparents, my fiance, and my nephew. Thank you.
Our next inductees and presenters from the class of 2008, Alyssa Boris Barthol, and class of 2010, Nicole Boris, who will serve as one another's presenters. By the way, I always knew that Alyssa was a tough kid, but she puts the explanation on toughness today. Alyssa is here today 5 days after giving birth to her daughter Haley on Monday. The Boris sisters.
Today, I am privileged to introduce my sister Alyssa as she is inducted into the GHS Hall of Fame. It is a unique honor to share this special moment with her, as our sibling rivalry has been far from the typical sibling rivalry. Growing up, my sister and I have always gotten along and been able to work together. This is especially true when it came to athletics. Unlike many sibling rivalries, we were always celebrating each other's accomplishments rather than getting caught up in jealousy or competition. As we reflect on our time at Gardner High, one thing has always been certain. Alyssa is a tenacious individual who sets ambitious goals and works extremely hard to achieve them. This is true for both athletics as well as her academics. Alyssa's commitment to her craft was especially evident in the number of hours she put into her pitching. Our father constructed a batting cage in the backyard as well as the basement to ensure that we had a space to sharpen our skills. Now, not only was I her sister, but I was also her live-in catcher. While my shins are still permanently bruised and screaming, all of her hard work came to light on the field as batters struggled to connect with her elusive drop ball. Having the opportunity to share the softball diamond with Alyssa for 2 years at Gardner was truly an awesome experience. She truly demonstrated the meaning of hard work, the importance of teamwork, and the significance of inner strength. Alyssa, you have been an incredible role model, and your influence has extended well beyond the field. There is no one more deserving of this award than you. You have truly earned this honor, and I'm proud to call you my sister. Congrats.
Thank you, Nick. I stand before you today, humbled to be a new inductee into the Gardner High School Hall of Fame. It is with great pride that I join the ranks of the incredible athletes who have come before me. This recognition is not just about me, but a celebration of the incredible teamwork that made this achievement possible. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to my mom and dad. Your encouragement, both on and off the field, was the foundation of my journey. You've been my greatest cheerleaders, driving across the state on weekends, witnessing countless hours of practice, and sharing in the joy of victories, as well as the lessons in defeat. Dad, your tireless coaching and the time spent in the bullpen and batting cages not only sharpened my skills, but also created cherished memories. To my sister Nicole, thank you for enduring long drives to my pitching lessons and for being my catcher. Even when my wild pitches may have occasionally tested your shin guards, your patience and support has meant the world to me. I'd like to extend my appreciation to Coach Howie Clash for having trust in me and giving me the opportunity to pitch for your team as a freshman. What an extraordinary and unforgettable journey it turned out to be. To all my coaches, your guidance and mentorship have played a pivotal role in shaping me into the person I am today. Your dedication, wisdom, and belief in my potential have not only honed my skills, but have also imparted invaluable life lessons. I am truly grateful for your commitment to instilling in me the core values of teamwork, discipline, and resilience. Thank you for being such an integral part of my journey. I'd also like to thank all my teammates. The victories we celebrated and the defeats we endured together have cemented bonds that will last a lifetime. I've had the privilege of standing alongside an exceptional group of young women, and I've cherished every moment spent with you all. Finally, I want to extend my gratitude to the entire Gardner High School organization. The cheers from the stands, the encouragement, and the steadfast support from our fans, teachers, and staff members helped foster an incredible environment, and I'm filled with pride to be a representative of this institution and the values it upholds. To my fellow Hall of Fame inductees, congratulations on your remarkable accomplishments. It's an honor to stand among such outstanding individuals who have left an indelible mark on Gardner High School and its athletic legacy. In closing, I'd like to dedicate this extraordinary honor to all the coaches, teammates, family members, and supporters who have been integral to my journey. I am honored to accept this recognition, and I'll carry it with me as a reminder of the extraordinary experiences and the invaluable relationships that softball has brought into my life. Thank you.
Now I have the honor of introducing my sister. Today I have the privilege of introducing my extraordinary sister, Nicole, as she is inducted into the Gardner High School Hall of Fame. This moment isn't only about celebrating her remarkable accomplishments, it's a recognition of the incredible journey that has brought her here. Growing up playing the same sport as your sister was a mix of fun and challenges. At times, I'm sure she felt like she was living in her older sister's shadow, and truth be told, I had my moments of exasperation with my younger sister always being around. However, we shared in many of the same wins and losses, which ultimately strengthened our sisterly bond. It pushed and challenged me to be the best, and having an awesome training partner meant that even on days when I did not feel like practicing, she motivated me to get off the couch and get out there with her. As her sibling, I've had a front row seat to Nicole's remarkable journey. I've witnessed the countless hours of practice, the sacrifices that she's made, and her unwavering determination. She demonstrates what it means to be a true competitor, always reaching for excellence and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Nicole's impact extends far beyond the softball field. She embodies the qualities of a true leader both on and off the field. Her dedication to teamwork and support for her teammates defines her character. She faced adversity with resilience and embraced success with humility. Today, as we celebrate Nicole's induction into the Hall of Fame, we also celebrate the values she represents: dedication, perseverance, and pursuit of excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my sister Nicole to the Hall of Fame, a place where her legacy will hopefully inspire future generations of athletes. Congratulations, sis, on a well-deserved honor. I couldn't be more proud. Hello again. Today I stand here extremely humbled and proud to be able to accept this incredible honor of being inducted into the Gardner High Hall of Fame. This honor is not just a recognition of my personal achievements on the field, but a celebration of the journey that has brought me to this point, and the amazing support of my family that has continually stood by my side throughout the years. As I reflect on my time at Gardner High, I am reminded of countless hours of practice, the exciting victories, and the heartbreaking defeats that have shaped me into the person and athlete that I am today. Softball may just be a game to some, but to me, it has been a source of strength, determination, and life lessons that I still use to this day. I want to thank my family for always being my biggest cheerleaders and greatest support system from day one. This is especially true for my dad. He never missed a single practice or game. He would give it his all to ensure that everyone on the field was playing at the best of their ability. I will always remember him pitching live batting practice from behind his net and getting excited when anyone would manage to hit a shot back at him and hit him. He not only pushed me to be the best I could be, but also my teammates. I also want to thank my coaches who not only taught me the technical skills of the game, but who also helped to instill values of discipline, teamwork, and perseverance into me. Coach Clash cared for every single one of his players and always had their best interests in mind. He was always there for us, making sure we excelled both on and off the field. I can only imagine how difficult it can be to coach a large group of teenage girls, but Coach always took it in stride. And while we never did win the last one, it was an amazing ride with an amazing group that I'm sure none of us will ever forget. As I join the ranks of the Gardner High School Hall of Fame, I am aware of all the incredible athletes who came before me, are here tonight, and who will follow me. This induction is not just about my achievements, it is an overall symbol of all the hard work and dedication of all those who have contributed to Gardner High School athletics. Thank you, Gardner High, for this incredible honor. I am forever grateful for the lessons, friendships, and memories that have been brought into my life through softball. These are lessons that I still carry to this day and will continue to carry throughout my life. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Our next inductee from the class of 2010, Stephanie Ellis Tyros, and her presenter, her husband, George Tyros.
Good afternoon. As John said earlier, many consider track and field an individual sport. I can tell you that Steph has always thought of it as a team sport. So much so that after many miles of running with her at practice, I came with the courage to ask her out on a date to go to the breakfast at the hen house. She said yes, and then invited the rest of the team to our date. Lucky for me, I had a few friends who knew what I was up to, and it's worked out since, as we just celebrated our 5th wedding anniversary. I have to be honest, I had to put in the work for that date, because Steph didn't just run with the boys, she ran faster than the boys. When she joined us during her breaks at UConn her freshman year, Coach KP would send me and a few other guys with her to do her workouts. I remember one particular grueling workout, and as we're doing it, my guys were dropping like flies. You know, spontaneous cramps, shoes were becoming undone. I believe somebody went to the bathroom and didn't return. And you know, as we're doing it, I'm looking around, and it's just Steph and I left. And as I'm wondering and coming up with an excuse to bail myself, I look at Steph, and the gloves are coming off, the hat's thrown to the ground, she's resetting her watch, and she looks at me, and she says, "You ready to go?" With a determination that you can only see at a level when someone has it because you can see it in their eyes. She pulled me through those last 2 miles because that's the type of person and leader Steph is. She leads from the front and is there for people when they need her most. It's what made her a great team captain, and it's what makes her a great nurse today, as she is often assigned to precept new nurses and to pull them through the night in the emergency room. It is now my pleasure to introduce Gardner High School's cross-country, course record holder, league meet champion, district meet champion, Foot Locker Northeast race champion, indoor track, 1,000-mile, 2-mile, 4x800, distance medley relay record holder, 3-time league meet mile champion, 2-time district meet mile champion, 3-time national qualifier, outdoor track 800-meter, and 4-time Gardner High School mile record breaker, 800 league meet champion, league and district meet mile champion, my teammate for life, Stephanie Tyros.
Thank you all so much for this honor and for being here with us to celebrate, and thank you to the committee for everything that you do to put this on. Like George said, many consider running to be an individual sport, but for me, it's always been a team sport. And it's that team, those running beside me, the coaches, Coach KP, and my softball coaches who had me stealing bases, and my parents who always supported me, that made it truly special. I know how fortunate I am to have been able to have such amazing experiences both close to home and train rides away, made possible by my parents who never missed a meet. Sometimes they traveled hours to watch me run for just 5 minutes or just passing by on a cross-country course. I've been able to create a support network, form lifelong friendships, and build a wonderful relationship and marriage from this sport. When I started running, this is never where I expected my career to end up. After all, it took a lot of bribing at first to get me to that finish line. Dunkin' Donuts bags dangled over the railing at Reggie Lewis, the promise of shrimp for dinner, or a post-race ice cream. There was usually some sort of incentive waiting for me at the end. But somewhere along the way, the motivation and drive came from within. Running became a constant, soothing cadence when life got chaotic and messy. It taught me diligence, persistence, and the sort of peace that comes with a nice course and a steady pace. It gave me direction and helped me to realize that there are a lot of hurts that can be healed with time and care. It also provided a listening ear, both in the forms of miles of pavement and amazing running buddies, to soften those pains that will never truly heal. Today, I still feel connected to this team. I'm so happy to be able to watch my cousins and share my love for running as we support them as they chase down my records and reach their own goals. It's been amazing to be able to go to meets, to watch them, just chase them around the course, and share my love with them. Thank you all again for this honor, and congratulations to my fellow inductees.
Our final athlete inductee from the class of 2012, Jameson Kraft, presented by his high school teammate in all three sports, football, baseball, and basketball, Garrett Shatrowski.
Hello, everyone. As with the previous speakers, I want to echo them with my sincere congratulations for all of you athletes who have been selected here today. It was a pleasure to watch many of you in your respective sports, and it was a pleasure to vote for many of you today as well. I stand here to introduce our next athlete, someone who is a three-sport teammate of mine and a good friend. Unfortunately, Coach Walt and Dobzinski could not be here today due to being at the UConn football game at Boston College, but he wanted me to share the following sentiments. It is ironic that we cannot attend today's event because we are at the game to see our nephew and grandson Tucker McDonald play at UConn. You see, it was years ago when Jameson Kraft was starring at GHS that a very young Tucker McDonald would go to every game and fixate on JMO. He even had a sweatshirt that had the number on it that said Mini Kraft across the top. Picture of Tucker and JMO at the games are still treasured in the McDonald family, so the tremendous respect and admiration of our families go back decades. JMO, you epitomize what it means to be a Gardner High School Wildcat. However, as coaches and fans saw Friday night's heroics of an offensive player that had a nose for the end zone and a defensive back that understood the game, the story is much deeper than that. Jameson and his brother Tyler, student athletes and coaches that understood the individual and hard work, success, and teammate and leadership that comes from parenting. In our mind, it goes back to Jameson's grandmother, Ellie Putnam, a legendary field hockey coach in Narragansett, transferred to his parents Lee and Justin and his brother Tyler, who Jameson told us never missed an opportunity to remind him that he worked harder than you every single day at practice. Sometimes you need to make it personal. Truth be told, we never really had to motivate JMO though. It was part of his DNA. However, despite his accomplishments, as there are too many to list, and numerous fans that would swarm him after games, he remained humble and genuinely did not care about individual accomplishments. He just wanted to win, and boy did that team win. The drive toward success was a genetic trait passed down through generations. When the best player on the team, and Jameson was, never misses a day of practice, allows others to stand in his spotlight, truly does not know about the records he is breaking, his teammates play harder, follow suit, and take lessons with them for life. Even today, when we talk about this game, or that game, or the playing with a separated shoulder on Thanksgiving and scoring 3 touchdowns to beat Oakmont, yeah, we had to get that in there. He declines the accolades and instead turns to someone else. Football has been at Gardner High School since 1893. Our family has seen and been privileged to coach many of the great players. You are a special one, a generational success story that deserves the title of Hall of Fame. Not only can we thank you as a coach for all you did to make our teams better, but you made our community love coming to our games, instilled pride in the orange and black, and made the next generation understand what it takes to be great. To add a little more color to this, because Jameson is too humble to say it, he stands atop almost every single record when it comes to ball carriers at Gardner High School. He's the all-time leading in rushing yards with 4,268, holds a school record for touchdowns with 66, career points with 397, and the most single-season 1,000-yard rushing seasons with 3 of them. He is second only to fellow Hall of Famer, the great Jeff Morrison, in single-season yards, touchdowns, and points. He's a 4-time Midwatch B All-Star, a Central Mass Shriners All-Star, Telegram and Gazette Super Team member, an All-State honorable mention, a 4-year varsity starter, a captain of the 2011 undefeated regular season team, along with a captain of basketball and baseball, which also made districts our senior year. Jameson, you personify what Gardner football is at its best. Along with that, you embody the qualities of a student athlete and live by the hallmarks of what makes a great teammate. I cannot think of a more fitting tribute for you than to be the first ballot Hall of Famer. It is truly a pleasure to be able to stand here and introduce you before accepting this honor, and even more so proud to call you a friend, a teammate, and the greatest football player I ever played with. It's much deserved, and congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, coaches, teachers, and teammates, I stand before you today with immense gratitude and humility as I am inducted into the Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame. I am deeply honored to be recognized alongside some of the greatest athletes in our school's history. I also want to thank Mike Richard and the entire committee, as well as all the volunteers that helped put this on today, and congratulate all of the other incredible inductees. First and foremost, I want to express my gratitude to my parents, Justin and Lee Kraft. They have been my unwavering support system from day one, attending every game, no matter the distance, spending countless hours driving me to and from practices, and providing the love and encouragement that fueled my passion for sports. Without them, none of this would have been possible. Of course, I have my grandmother, Eleanor Putnam, to thank for a lot of that passion and love for sports as well. A longtime phys ed teacher and coach, just like my mom. It's safe to say I was destined to have a deep love for sports. I also want to thank my older brother, Tyler, who always pushed me to be the best I could be at everything I did. He was a great leader and role model for me. As a senior captain on the football team, he always included me in everything, even though I was his annoying freshman brother. To all my coaches, I thank you for all the time and energy you have poured into molding me as an athlete, and more importantly, as a person. You taught me the importance of discipline, teamwork, and perseverance, lessons that extend far beyond any field or court, and I carry them with me in every aspect of my life. To my teammates, I consider you my brothers. The bonds we formed through countless hours of practice, locker room shenanigans, bus rides, shared victories, and even the heart-wrenching defeats are invaluable. I can earnestly say that no stat, no record, no win or loss can compare to the friendships and memories that I am lucky enough to have and share with you all. High school sports are not just about wins and losses or statistics and records. They are about personal growth. They teach us to push our limits, to never give up, and to embrace adversity. In closing, this induction into the Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame is not just an honor for me, it's a testament to the collective effort of everyone who has been a part of my journey. I accept this recognition with immense gratitude, and I hope to continue to inspire and contribute positively to our community in the years to come. Thank you.
Our next inductee is longtime track cross-country coach who led his boys and girls teams today to the league championship, Ken Peler. He'll be presented by his lifelong friend and fellow Gardner High Athletic Hall of Famer, Steve Hancock.
Thank you. We're good. We made it. Once again, allow me to congratulate all of today's inductees for your numerous contributions to the Gardner High School athletic programs. Our next honoree has accumulated over 85 seasons of coaching a varsity sport at Gardner High School. He is presently in his 28th consecutive year of coaching year-round, 3 sports. Outdoor fall, cross-country, winter track, indoors, and spring track, spring and field track outside in the spring. He has now accumulated, like I said, over 85 seasons. I got to think that's probably a record. I don't think any coach in the history of Gardner High has coached that many varsity seasons in any cumulative. Our next honoree is a dear friend of mine, and I'm happy to introduce him to you. There's too many records to go over. If you look in the gymnasium and you take a look at the track and field records all time that are on the wall in the gymnasium, I would think you would find that most of those records are held by his former student athletes. Congratulations to our next honoree, and I'd like to present a longtime friend of mine and the next Hall of Famer, Coach Ken Peler.
Can you tell we've been around for a while? I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to have been selected to receive this award, along with so many other great past high school athletes, of which I was not one. I want to thank everyone that has been part of my journey, starting with the Gardner Gardner school system, for giving me this opportunity to coach one of my favorite things to do, which is run. Thank you to all the superintendents, principals, and ADs I've had the pleasure to work under, especially Morris Fitzgerald, who was the AD back in 1991 and talked me into coaching boys and girls cross country. Turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. Thank you to all the coaches that I've had the pleasure to work alongside with, as I've learned so much from each of you. And a special thanks to Coach Ed Kozlowski, who was the cross-country and track coach at GHS before me. And he sparked my interest in track when one day I was watching one of his high school track meets, and he came up to me and said he needed help. He needed someone to help rake the sand pit for the long jump event. Not knowing anything about track at that time, I said, okay, I figured anybody can rake sand, so I did it. Morris Fitzgerald and Ed Kozlowski probably don't even remember that moment, but after 33 years, it still remains in my memory as the beginning of this long run. And to all the amazing parents who shared their kids with me, who created a booster club that was second to no one, that supported our teams in every way possible, I say thank you. But most of all, to all the amazing athletes that made coaching such a rewarding experience for me, I will not forget. Whether you were just someone trying to reach a personal best, or someone who made it to the state meet or national level, it has been my good fortune to be able to watch you compete. That has been the single most reason why I'm still coaching today. Every year I would think, okay, this is it. And then, just when you think it can't get any better, another group of kids comes along and you think, well, I can't leave now. So for example, last fall the boys cross-country team went undefeated at 10-0. They were league champions, they were Wachusett Invitational champions, and they qualified for the state meet, finishing in 8th place at the state meet. The girls cross-country team had a record of 8-2 last year. They came in 2 second-place finishes in the league and Central Mass Invitational Championship meets, and they also qualified for the state meet and also finished in 8th place. Never have the boys and girls teams qualify for the states in the same year. This season, the boys remain undefeated at 10-0, and today they repeated as, just a few hours ago, repeated as league champions, while the girls this season went 9-1, losing only to Tohoto. And unfortunately for Tohoto, they came in second today, and we came in first. So both teams are crowned league champions today. So now we're looking, Coach Grimley and I, who coaches the girls along with me, we're both looking forward to the rest of the season and looking forward to hopefully another trip to states. And of course for me, none of this would be possible if it were for my wife, who has been there, sorry, I lost my place, so supportive of my coaching and running all these years. She did all the behind-the-scenes work so I could go coach. And when I was running marathons, all 27 of them, she was always at the finish line, ready to take care of my many aches and pains. So I say thank you. A long time ago, a Gardner news writer was doing a report on marathon runners, and he asked me, what is the most important thing one needs to do when running a marathon? And I said, make sure you have a nurse at the finish line. And I did. So thank you to all the people I mentioned tonight, And to ones I might have left out, if it weren't for all of you, I would not be standing here today. So thank you once again, and thank you, Mike Richards, for doing all this work. Thank you.
Our next Hall of Fame inductee is Coach John Santui. In more than 130 years of athletics at Gardner High School, there have been hundreds upon hundreds of coaches. However, if you simply say the name coach, quite honestly, there's no one else who comes to mind. John Santui served as physical education coach for more years than any other gym teacher in Gardner High history before or since. We've all heard his lines over the years. There's no I in team. If you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes. Several others that I'm not able to say in mixed company. Yes, there have been hundreds of Santucci-isms. He first came to Gardner High School in the fall of 1971 to become the physical education teacher and coach of the brand new ice hockey program. He was fresh out of Yukon, where he was a record-setting goaltender with their ice hockey team. Prior to that, he was a three-sport athlete at Palmer High School, where he was also an inaugural inductee into their high school Hall of Fame. So he arrives in Gardner at a time when the Boston Bruins are the toast of New England, Stanley Cup champions, and every Frenchman in Gardner has designs that his son will be the next superstar in the NHL. There was a lot of expectations and high hopes, but quite honestly, the talent was lacking. Just because your name was LeBlanc or Cormier or Richard doesn't mean you're going to be the next or Busick or Esposito. Coach was a stickler for teaching skills and the fundamentals of the game. Sure, you may have been the big star on the local pond, but what happened when you played on the indoor ice surface or the outdoor Clark Memorial? Gardner High School won their share of games against some established programs, but there were a lot of teams that had far better established programs over the years. Unfortunately, it didn't necessarily meet with the satisfaction of the school committee, who expected more wins at a faster pace. You have to understand that at this time, the Gardner School Committee liked to play a game which seemed to be a yearly game called Fire the Coach. After 9 seasons as head hockey coach, the school committee made the decision to sever ties with Coach Santui. It's really a shame because he laid a firm foundation of the future success that Gardner High hockey would have through the 1980s. For the next 15 years or so, he continued on as PE teacher at Gardner High, but did not coach anything. Who could blame him after that treatment? However, in 1993, his good friend, Coach Howie Clash, wore him down, and Coach Santui agreed to fill in the position as JV softball coach. I will tell you, there are hundreds of girls who are so glad he did. For the next 14 years, he headed up the JV program, once again teaching the skills and the fundamentals, stressing that there's no I in team, and developing some outstanding softball talent. And as Coach Clash would take teams to district and state playoff games, many of those players cultivated their talents on Coach Santucci's JV teams. While they didn't keep JV records, I doubt that Coach Santui lost more than 10 games total over those 14 years. Then when girls ice hockey was at its startup years, Coach Santui stepped in to coach the squad for 2 years, turning them from losers to winners in 2 seasons. I've spent a lot of time with Coach Santui. I've been among a group of retired teachers who would meet on Friday afternoons at the Gardner American Legion to discuss world matters and other things. I'll tell you, anytime a former student comes through the door, their eyes light up. The first person they come over to speak to is Coach. I'm not sure he truly knows how much he was loved by the students of Gardner High School, but I hope today's induction makes him realize his importance. It's true, there's no I in team, but there is an I in Santui. It comes right after you. See what I mean? So it's with great pleasure that I bestow this long overdue honor and welcome into the Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame my coach, my friend, Coach John Santui.
Thank you, Mike, but you took half of my speech. I would also like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for my induction and to congratulate the other newly elected members of the class of 2023. Being from Palmer in Western Mass, I had heard of Gardner, even though I wasn't exactly sure of where it was. Marty Anderson, the longtime football coach at Gardner, was also from Palmer and had relatives close to where I grew up, so I was familiar with his background. When arriving in Gardner, I found the people to be very friendly and acceptable to me. However, as the first hockey coach, I had no idea what to expect. I learned quickly it would be a very challenging experience, as there was no youth program and most kids had only skated on ponds. Our home ice was the uncovered rink at the Clark Memorial Rink in Winchendon. The rude awakening started at our first tryouts in Winchendon. Close to 50 kids showed up for the first practice. There were some plastic street hockey sticks, figure skates, among the boys trying out. A couple quick stories how bad it was. After the team was picked, I had a young man come up to me and said, "Coach, I know I can't make the team. I can't skate very good. Could I be your manager?" And kiddingly, I said, "You know you have to blow up all the pucks before the games, right?" And he said, "Really?" And I just shook my head. In another instance, our first time on the ice as far as competition was at the Civic Center for the Jamboree. And I'm at the door changing the lines, and my best first line center starts tugging at my arm, and I kind of looked down. I said, "Yeah, what's up?" And he goes, "Coach." I think he wanted to give me some kind of unbelievable advice. He said, "Coach, how about a power play?" And I was going to say, when your line goes out, you're sitting down and they'll have a power play. However, once the program really took off with the boys working hard and so forth, and the establishment of the youth program and the arrival of the Gardner Veterans Rink. And as DJ mentioned, from there, it was a state championship, several league titles, and so forth. As Mike also said, after leaving hockey, I went several years without coaching. And one day, Howie Clash came up to me, the varsity softball coach, asked if I would be interested in coaching the JV team. I accepted. It turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. Coach Clash had a very successful varsity program. My job was to prepare the girls for that next step to varsity. Coaching the girls was a great experience, and our success was due to the players and their hard work. Also, Mike mentioned, prior to retiring, I also had the privilege to coach the girls' varsity ice hockey team, and again, it was successful due to their dedication and hard work. Finally, I will never forget not only the players I had the privilege to coach, the many students I taught as a phys ed teacher at Gardner High, and the many people I met through the years in Gardner. Once again, I want to thank the committee for this great honor. Thank you.
When we began inducting championship teams years ago, the question arose, What are you going to do about the swim teams? It was nearly impossible to honor one team over another. After all, how can you favor one state champion over another? Well, the truth is you can't. So the decision was made to honor each state championship team, all 13 of the boys' teams and all 16 of the girls' teams. We would be paying tribute to the swimming dynasties of Coach John Tinker and Coach Don Lemieux. So to honor the swimming dynasty of Coach John Tinker from 1947 to 1966, unfortunately, we don't have many members of that swimming years here, but we do, I believe, have a couple. I would like to call up from the Tinker swim dynasty, Norman Beauregard. And is there anyone else from that time period? And if you are, please come forward. And I'd also like to call up our presenter and recipient, former Gardner High Hall of Famer, 1968 Gardner High graduate, and Gardner High swimmer, Ken Phillips.
Well, Mike, thanks for the assignment. So I dug through the Google, and believe it or not, there was a great article written by your Master of Ceremonies back in 2004, really giving a full history of the accomplishments that John Tinker realized. And he had these teams of 15 to 30 swimmers, beginning in the 30s, lasting into the 40s. My newfound friend, he's from 1950s. In the 1950s, he graduated in 59. I graduated in 68, the same year that Coach Tinker retired. Prior to his retirement, he had like 13 state championships, 9 in a row, with swimmers who were giants. And the reason I say that is because I was an age grouper, and I started swimming at the Greenwood Memorial when I was about 8 years old, and I hung out at that pool all the way through high school. And these teams that Coach Tinker had, they were giants. I've seen some awardees tonight who were basketball players. I've seen an awardee who is a fantastic football player. And Tinker had guys like that on his team. And they were pretty good swimmers. And they were tough swimmers. Back in 1960, things kind of got a little bit dried up. But the age groupers that I was with included my brother Dave, his buddy Bob Mahar, Bob O'Hearn, Danny Du Bois. We had a tremendous diver whose name was Larry Barrio, and we had a real strong team. And in 1966, we did get Coach Tinker another state championship. And the way Coach Tinker celebrated after he got tossed in the water by his swimmers, he would go over to the diving board and do what's commonly called a full gainer, which is you walk off the end of the board in a forward motion and you do a reverse somersault. And that was his way of celebrating. And hey, it was just amazing. And he wasn't a young man, but to him, that was his way of thanking the swimmers for one more state championship. And I wish there were more of us still standing so that, hey, we could post a picture. We could make a big poster board. We could bring out the yearbooks, peruse them, put all the names up. But being in the Hall of Fame as a team, Mike, I think is a fabulous way to honor John's memory and to hopefully keep swimming alive in this town. Because from what I can tell, it's kind of gone. To be a little bit political here, this city needs an indoor swimming pool and an indoor program, because swimming, as my mother used to say, boy, is the cleanest sport out there. Hey, thank you for that laugh. Mike, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I can't tell you how proud I am to be a Gardnerite. And I had my chance to express that when I was inducted, and my brother, bless his soul, told me I took too long in front of the mic. Thanks again.
Just to follow up what Ken Phillips was saying about John Tinker, I had the pleasure to know the gentleman, wonderful man. And I remember him telling me a story once. In the 1940s, in addition to being the swim coach, he was also the assistant football coach. And one October day, in the middle of practice, he fell forward, face first on the field, and whipped off 40 push-ups on the field. And the players all came around, they circled around, Coach, what's going on? He said, I hope someday when you turn 40, you can do 40 push-ups too. So not only did he do dives off the board, but he was a pretty good shape. In January of 2022, the city of Gardner, Gardner High School, and the Greenwood Swim family, and hundreds upon hundreds of grateful individuals mourned the sudden and untimely passing of a legend. Don Lemieux loved Gardner. He loved his family, he loved coaching, and he loved his swimmers. Don was a great friend of mine, and I miss him. I miss his laughs. I miss those stories. I miss his friendship. To honor the swimming dynasty of Coach Don Lemieux from 1994 to 2010, we would like to call up the following swimmers to the stage from the Lemieux swim dynasty. So when I call your name, please come up here. And ladies, no offense, but I'm using the names we knew you better at Gardner High School with, and I know many of you are married. All the way from Anchorage, Alaska, Karina Hopkins Vaca. Tina Pellet, Battez. Christy Martin Jones. Laura Warwick. Kristen Landry. Lisa Arsenal. Kelsey Dewey. Hannah Condrotis. Kerry Dewey. Shannon Lambert, Lindsay Hagens, Corey Tufchinsky, Gabby Evans, Erica Meisner, Allison Gray, Erin Gray, and Coach Diana Ringer. Ladies, why don't you come up here onto the stage behind me while we have our presentations. And I'd like the ladies to please stay afterwards. We're going to have a photo, so anyone that would like to take a photo of our swimmers, please feel free afterwards to come up here. As far as our individual inductees, at the end of the induction, I'd like you all to come up here, and I will call you at the very end for your photo as well. And anyone who'd like to take the photo would be glad to have you up here. And now to introduce the presenters for Don Lemieux. His daughter, Tricia Lemieux Bardzak, his son, Donnie Lemieux Jr., and the recipient is a former swimmer and Gardner High Hall of Famer from the class of 2004 graduate, Stacy Lesneski Smith.
My sister, me and my sister are honored to be here today, to be a part of this ceremony, to induct our father, Don Lemieux Swimming Dynasty, into the Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame. And I appreciate Mike for getting me a little tears before we came up here. Starting in 1994, the Gardner High School swim team won a ridiculous 16 state championships, including 15 in a row from 1994 until 2008. Which included 14 consecutive sectional championships, held a 141 consecutive dual meet win streak from 1992 until 2009. And then from an individual perspective, 33 swimmers won state championships, including a total of 169 gold medals amongst them. 24 swimmers won a total of 61 silver medals, and another 20 swimmers won a total of 36 bronze medals, not to mention the 25 gold medals won by relay teams. It got to the point where they were so dominant that the MIA, which we all know and love, moved them to different parts of the country, or different parts of the state, from eastern Massachusetts to western Massachusetts to South Central, which included teams from Cape Cod, which made a lot of sense. They even ended up creating a rule which didn't allow teams to put their banners up behind where they sat on the pool deck, because the Gardner High School swim team's banner had so many state championships on it that they looked at it as taunting. So I'll shift it over this way.
All right. So the Gardner High swim team won so often, they made it look easy. They pushed the sport of swimming into a category of a major high school sport. You would see fan buses filled and headed to the championship meets, and the football team body painted and cheering in the stands. It was amazing for me to watch. Not only were the races exhilarating and the championships filled with pride, the part that was most impactful for me was watching my father motivate, push people beyond their self-defined limits, and develop their character, all while bringing them together to achieve the ultimate goal. He spent countless hours buried in 40 years worth of marble notebooks, covered in prior practices, like the one from 1997 that I brought with me here today. He was known for his speeches and motivational talks, some which I heard accompanying the swimmers on the team bus ahead of big meets. These talks contained sentiment, humor, and a whole lot of what we'll call drive. I would be amiss if I did not share a message with you here tonight. On the day that he passed, I went to my parents' basement, and on their pool table that doubled as his desk, littered with these marble notebooks, he was working on his next practice masterpiece. His pen in front of this quote: "We don't get burned out because of what we do. We get burned out because we forget why we do it. Purpose keeps you fresh." He led his life with purpose. He was proud of every single swimmer. I just wasn't in my speech. But the day that he passed away, he came to my house at 8 o'clock in the morning, and one of the last things he did was told me about how proud he was of one of his recent swimmers entering the military. I am beyond thankful to have had you all as my role models, classmates, and quite honestly, my extended family. I am honored to present Stacy Smith to represent the Don Lemieux Swim Dynasty.
Thanks, Tricia and Donnie, and I'm very humbled and honored to be accepting this. I really wish Lemieux was here right now to accept this award, but I'll do my best to honor him and honor his legacy, which, sorry, everyone can hear me. I think his legacy speaks for itself, and I don't need to go into that much further, but we were so blessed to have Coach Lemieux here in Gardner. He could have coached any single sport and would have been just as successful. Like, he even helped a lot with the football teams, and any sport that Coach Lemieux coached would have been a success, and we were so lucky that he chose to dedicate all his time to swimming. And that's just because of the type of person he was. He was so magnetic and energetic, and people just wanted to be around him. And he instilled a sense of pride and confidence in all of his swimmers. He really he was the one who single-handedly made wearing that orange and black G cap prestigious and cool. Before that, nobody, it's the Tinker legacy too, but when I was growing up, I wanted to be one of those older swimmers that he had made successful, and he made it cool. And it wasn't just me. I turned around, people were flocking. Like, I'm not sure if people are aware how people were coming from all over New England to Gardner to swim for Coach Lemieux. They were moving here. They were driving hours every day, almost twice a day, 2 hours, coming from all over these prestigious towns, out to Little Gardner. And, they weren't coming to Gardner for our state-of-the-art facility, the Greenwood Pool, okay? They weren't coming to Gardner for Gardner High. It's a great place, and I'm super proud to have gone here, but they were coming to Gardner and flocking here from Stoneham and Peabody and Rentham and Westford, New Hampshire. There was people literally all over the country, with club too, I'm including, but for high school, people were coming all over the state because they wanted to be a part of his swimming for him and a part of his team and his legacy. And nobody cared more about Gardner High, and nobody cared more about the swimmers than Coach Lemieux, and even all the athletes here. He pitched in everywhere. He was always super funny and brimming with this energy that, he just loved being our coach, and that rubbed off on all of us. And you could tell just the daily grind and every day of putting in the hard work was his passion, and he pushed all of us every single day. And you could tell he just loved being around the team. He loved, we would sit there at 4 o'clock in the morning praying that he wasn't going to show up at maybe he slept in today. Maybe he forgot his keys and we'll get to go home and get an extra 2 hours of sleep. But you'd see his car come rolling down the hill and you're like, here we go again. But, and then he'd come in and open the door. Sometimes it'd be 30 degrees out, and everybody in on the top, and it was just the best time. And it's so blessed that we were able to swim, that we had him for a coach. He wasn't just the best coach in the state, he was the best coach in the country. You would go to nationals and other coaches would be flocking to him, not just because he had a lot of knowledge, but he was just funny. And everybody wanted to hang out with him and, shoot the shit with him. And, it was, so it wasn't just me, it wasn't just all of us. People everywhere wanted to be around him. He was just such an awesome, magnetic person. I just can't thank Coach Lemieux, for helping all of us. I can't thank him anymore because he helped all of us pursue our dreams, like Tricia was saying, that was the same thing I thought of. He was the biggest dreamer, and he made us all see, we can go for that too. And he's, we're just from small Gardner, but he pursued his dreams, and he pushed all of us to go after our dreams too. And, thing, he was relentless, and he'd always say, you know, what are you bringing to the table today? You know, yesterday doesn't matter, what are you bringing to the table today? And, you know, it was always a fresh day. He was always there 100% for all of his kids, and every single one of the kids. He was just the most caring, awesome coach you could ever ask for. Like, when I went to college, I was just, like, super disappointed. Like, people were not as good in college. Like, any college would have been so lucky to have him as a coach, for sure. And there's just, and thanks for all the teammates and all the fun that he really pushed all of us to not just pursue in the pool, but outside to be successful. And thanks, Lemieux, we really are so lucky to be blessed to have him in our small town and city. And we love you so much. And I know a little bit of Coach Lemieux is like in all of our hearts, and we really will always keep his spirit with us every day. So thanks a lot, and go Wildcats.
At this time, I'd like to call up Patty Lemieux to receive the Hall of Fame plaque for the Don Lemieux Swim Dynasty. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our swimmers all together here. Patty will be in the front. Her son and daughter will flank either side, and then the rest of the swimmers, could you come down on the next 2 steps? For anyone that wants to photograph, now's the time to grab the dynasty. Thank you, ladies. Don't forget this. Following the induction, we will be moving to the PACC to continue the celebration of our Hall of Fame inductees. As I mentioned earlier, the Hall of Fame is a nonprofit organization chiefly supported by donations from the public. And we would appreciate any generosity you can spare to continue to keep this program and these Hall of Fame inductions into the future. I have some thank yous in order tonight for our student athletes who volunteered their time as our ushers. Thank you to the Hall of Fame committee for all of your hard work in making this induction a successful one. Again, special thanks to Lynn Cormier-Sayarath and Carin Mackay-McCrillis for all of their efforts. When you get to the PACC, you'll know why. They did a fabulous job. Thank you for your attendance and attention at our 2023 Gardner High School Athletic Hall of Fame induction. Congratulations to our new Hall of Famers. Glory to Gardner. At this time, I'd like to call forward all of our individual inductees and the 2 coaches for a photograph as well. Thank you again, and we'll see you at the PA.